It's the Cardiff City phone in. Welcome once again to another week. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so thank you to Nige right in front of us for hosting last week, and also to Steve Wiggy Wiggins for stepping in. So we got a first timer on the panel tonight, Pan of Bluebird Corner. Hello, Pan. How you doing?
Yeah,
Thanks for
hello,
joining.
Steve. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Very good, thanks.
We were just having a chat about your Greek heritage and stories about Taki Mikolev and platform heels were knocking about, but we'll leave that for people to imagine. But thanks for being here, and also, of course, Nigel Blues, as I said, and Steve Thomas.
In the boat,
for coming on. Steve's only young because he's retired now. He's got nothing better to do. So
lucky boy.
Pan, I'll come to you first as a first timer on the show. Obviously, on the weekend, first defeat. First goal from open play for something like, I don't know, 10 hours or something crazy. What a goal that was, by the way. We didn't, I suppose we didn't really get stuffed on chances, but well beaten. And is it a case of Bradford being better than we expected? Were we poor on the day? How did you read it?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both, Steve. I think I ran a podcast, Bluebird Corner, and we did one on Saturday after the match, and most of the people comments were from Bradford fans on the way back, saying they weren't expecting to win. They were expecting us to win. I predicted sort of a draw before the game. I thought, Bradford, they play counter-attacking football. They've got a very effective front three. And their fans have said they've exceeded expectations. I think we would have said we've exceeded expectations. I don't think in our history we've had a run of 10 unbeaten in 125 years at the start of the season. So, obviously it was going to come eventually. I mean, if you actually look at the goals and, when you're watching it live and then you sort of do emotional podcast afterwards, you sort of see it in a different way. But if you look at the game afterwards, you notice, like for the first goal, that Willock didn't defend that corner. He should have been on that man immediately. And that was his mistake. I mean, obviously it was a great finish. I mean, you can't knock the guy. A Bradford fan said to me, that guy Lee, if he'd done that 100 times, he'd only get it. He'd miss 99. So it is what it is, and it happens. I mean, the second goal, obviously Osho, massive mistake. He was out of position in the first place. He should have kept his position instead of going forward to the midfielder, and then he had to track back. And obviously he made that huge mistake. And the third one, Willock was out of position again, didn't track back. A little lazy, I would have said. And obviously Bradford deserved the win. They were better than us on the day. We had an off day. I think 90% of the players were poor. We just couldn't pass the ball. We did have a lot of opportunity, though. And I think when you look at the game, we could have easily drawn that 3-3. So it's not as if we couldn't. As the man just said, we created chances. Turnbull was unlucky, and there was other opportunities. So, I was disappointed. I think most City fans were. We were hoping for a positive result, but credit to Bradford City. They did a job on us. They played counter-attacking football, and they deserved the win.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Steve, so Bradford, if I remember, I think that the season before they went down, they've come straight back up. They're one of these sides. They're on a bit of a roll. Once you get a bit of a winning spirit going on, they looked fairly decent. They look, like that, they could even cut it in the league above if they continue to do well. So would you agree largely with Pan's summary there? Was that they played extremely well? Maybe they sussed us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that is a concern. First of all, I agree with everything you said there, Pan. Absolutely spot on analysis. The goals were very disappointing. Again, as you say, the player on the edge of the box was not closed down for the first goal. Osho was out of position and dived in for the second. And clearly, it was the mistake for the third as well. But I think that the big test now is how we react to it. We got the cup game tomorrow night, and then I think it's a massive game at Wigan on Saturday. We're going to have had a few disappointing results this season. We were never going to win every game. There was always going to be a game like that. And a lot of people are looking at the parallels to 82-3 and the team that went up that season. But saying how fantastically well we played. What a lot of people seem to be forgetting, of course, yes, we lost the first game at home to Wrexham that season, didn't lose a game at home after that. We then went to Millwall on a Sunday afternoon, won 4-0. I was there, still locked in the ground an hour after the game for my safety. And then the Tuesday after that, so the Wednesday after that, we then lost 4-0 away to Orient. So we didn't start off too well that season, yet it ended up fantastic. So I'm thinking, it's very much about how we bounce back now, particularly at Wigan on Saturday.
Is the 82-83 thing, is that also to do with the kind of the size of the squad as well? Because is that part of it? We've got a pretty small squad now, haven't we?
Yes. I think that's complaining about the players we brought in, the lack of players we brought in this season. Back then, of course, the only player we signed was Jimmy Mullen for 10,000 at the start of that season. Obviously we brought the likes of Bob Hatton in during the season, and Eric Steele came on loan, the goalkeeper from Watford, who did that fantastic save at Fratton Park away that season as well. Sorry, we're talking about now, aren't we? Not going back to 82-83. But I think there's a lot of parallels there, and we really just got to stick with things. Brian Barry Murphy has started off really well, obviously, stating the obvious, but teams are going to work out how to play against us. They're going to look at the videos, they're going to look at how we've done, and they're going to think, actually, first of all, how do we stop Cardiff playing? And now a big test for BBM is how he reacts to that. Yeah.
Nige, reading what Brian said after the game, he was talking about a bit of naivety on the part of the players, and like you said, we had a number of chances and this, but he also, again, to reinforce what Steve said, and by the way, the comment from Jamie is relevant, I think it's on the screen at the moment, is about it's how do we react, how do we bounce back? Is it just a blip? Have we we're still well up there, aren't we? We've got a game in hand, we won that, we're top again,
Absolutely. I mean, if someone said to us a few weeks ago, we'll start the season, be fourth, a game in hand that could take us top, and we'd be averaging 2 points a game, we'd be delighted, wouldn't we? So we're going to have blips. The young players, there is a bit of naivety. The thing that just worries me a little bit, I think teams are working out how to disrupt us, and we saw that at Stockport last week. And it's quite simple, really. If they go aggressive against us, we are found a little bit wanting at the moment, and that's a little bit of a concern for me. Bradford were brilliant at counter-attacking, and that's one thing we're not so clever at, because we want to do this patient pass around, find the gap, and we're not direct or incisive enough at times. And ultimately, I think that game was decided by Bradford's wide men being a lot better and a lot more effective than ours, and their goals came from that, didn't they? So there's things to work out, but I thought they disrupted us straight from the toss of the coin, making us change ends, didn't they? And they just did everything.
Actually, that's the first time I've seen that for ages.
I think they did everything to put us off our stride, and they did it very effectively. Their game management was superb as well, and unfortunately we were found wanted on the day, but we'll learn from that. And I think with Barry Murphy and his players, there's a couple of changes. I'm sure we'll all agree a couple of things need to be changed there. But they've got great opportunity to bounce straight back, haven't they, with the games coming up at Wigan on the weekend, and then at home to Burton next week. Unfortunately, I think we've got a game tomorrow that we all think we can do without, but we are where we are.
It's another season. So it would have been maybe quite a nice game, but maybe not right now. What about the comment on the screen there? No panic, no need to overreact. Good start. Again, is that essentially how you see it as well? Are you fairly, kind of sanguine about it? We're gonna lose now and again, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm very relaxed about it, Steve. I mean, we're not like the Invincibles of Arsenal or something, and we're not going to go unbeaten all season. We're not going to do a Birmingham. No team was going to do a Birmingham this year. I mean, I predicted before we signed the players we did, especially Trott, that we'd be lucky to finish in the playoffs based on what I've seen last season. We were the worst team, in the championship, and obviously the new manager's come in. He's imposed his style and given a lot of the young lads an opportunity and given them confidence. I can't remember a time where we've gotten enough half the squad who are through the academy, so it's a special time in that regards. And I'm optimistic, looking forward to the rest of the season. I mean, I know it's a free hit against Burnley on Wednesday. I'm not expecting anything from that, I've got to be honest with you, but you never know. The last time we beat them is in 2008, and they've played 17 games since we haven't beaten them at their place. It's not an easy place to go. I've been there a couple of times, and they're quite passionate fans. So we'll be up against it on Wednesday, but the bread and butter is all about Wigan on Saturday, and trying to get back, even at points and then Burton the following midweek game. You can get 4 points from those two. Everything's rosy again.
I think it's tomorrow, isn't it? The Burnley
Is it
match?
tomorrow? Is it Tuesday?
Yeah,
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that it makes it doesn't make much of a difference. But Pan, what do you think about? I found with I love calling BBM. It's great to have something you can give initials for, but the fact that he's largely to a large extent kind of stuck with winning teams, etc. Do you see a lot of changes tomorrow? So we haven't got a massive squad. So there'll be a lot of youngsters maybe.
I don't know the injury situation. I thought Capacchio's got a heel injury. Lawler's got a slight groin. So I would have thought Oshu would have been. I mean, I thought Oshu in the second half was very good. He made that error, in the first half, and he could have cracked for his home debut. I think he did very well in the second half. Credit to the lad, recovered. So I'd like to see him start. And I think, in terms of energy, probably he'll play. Turner will be in.
Yes, I would have thought so. Maybe with young Higgs on the bench because
it should be Robertson should be back and in there, and maybe Robinson. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a few changes, maybe 6 or 7. I mean, what I would say about the manager is he's not like some of our previous managers. He hasn't taken these cup games where I'd say seriously. I mean, I know he'd been in the final of the League Cup, etc. In not so long ago, but we've got a pretty poor record in the League Cup. We've only been in the 4th round a few times in 65 attempts, so we haven't really taken it that seriously. But I think the manager, from what I've seen in these cup games, he wants to win every game, and I think I like that. So whatever side he puts out, we'll want to impose our style. But I'd imagine 6 or 7 changes myself.
Yeah, I wonder, Steve, what it would take for any criticism of BBM really, because we as Pan said, we came safely last season, well and truly relegated. We got a young squad, which is lovely to see. We haven't brought in a lot of new players, but he seems to refreshed us, and the whole club just seems kind of rejuvenated, and just a more of an exciting experience altogether. Being a fan of Cardiff City at the moment, it would take a fairly significant bump in the road, I would have thought, for fans to start turning. Would you say, Steve?
I agree. I've been very impressed with him so far. He's been an absolute breath of fresh air. Obviously, there's things to work on in the side, and it's a good idea to bring in, I think, the younger players at this level. Rather than last season. As you said, we finished bottom of the league last season, so I think an overhaul was more than justified. One slight concern I've got about BBM, and one of my friends pointed this out, the amount of penalties we've conceded this season so far.
3 already, yeah.
It's a bit of a concern, isn't it? I mean, Turner made a fantastic save in the League Cup, but I think we've had obviously Peterborough was our first goal let in, and then Stockport, and then on Saturday. So we've had 3 penalties in league games, one in the League Cup. So I think perhaps we need to look at what we're doing in the penalty area. Trott's impressed me so far. Perhaps didn't have. Well, I wouldn't like to criticise.
Didn't have much chance, really, did he, against those goals? Really,
no, that's right. But he does take years off me, putting my heart in my mouth. The way he does Cruyff turns and people in his own penalty area. I wish he wouldn't do that. But I think go back to your question, Steve. We cannot be turning on BBM after one defeat. If we just said at the start of the season, let's pick up on what Nigel said earlier on as well. If we'd have started off, if we'd have said at the start of the season, first 8 games, we'll win 5, draw 3, and lose 1, we'd be happy with that, wouldn't we?
What about the comment from Martin, Steve? Hi, Martin. Bradford first to every second and third ball. I think that's fairly, hard to deny. Great team ethic, and the point that hopefully our youngsters and inexperienced at this level coach will learn from this game more than all previous games, because he made that point, didn't he, Brian, after the game, that the players will learn more from this, and again alluding to some naivety.
He did. That's a very good point. But I'd just like to go back to the Port Vale game as well. He made a similar comment after that, because we were bullied in midfield. We didn't really react to the way Port Vale were containing us and stop doing it. He said he would take action against that, and he demonstrably did, because of the run we proceeded to go on after that. I have every confidence that BBM will BBM will put into the younger players the ethics that they need to work out how we went wrong and how we can counteract the way Bradford played against. I think actually Bradford maybe, having just been promoted, be on a bit of a honeymoon period at the moment. Some teams will come up and they will do quite well to start off with, and then they in turn will get found out as we go along. Obviously, we didn't find them out last Saturday, but hopefully going forward we can learn from every game. As I think, remember the first game that Hassan Hootel was in charge of Southampton was away at Cardiff City, and he made a fantastic comment at the end of the match. He said, "We win or we learn." Nice, yeah. You should be. That's good. I should be on the wall in the dressing room there, Steve. Nigel, a comment from Mark Cox. It's an interesting one, really, because I think a few players need a bit of a rest. Ashford and Wintle, for example. The trouble is, if Capaccio is having a scan at the moment, isn't he? And obviously Lawler, who I thought we really missed, by the way, in the weekend, which is amazing for a 18-year-old kid. I think we missed him. So we haven't got, we really don't have that many. If we look at it, we look at it's like more or less 21 players really, and some kids. So you got a full squad and like 2 or 3 who don't get in, So it's a bit does that concern you at all, or is it
absolutely. And also the way he plays the game, it's high intensity football, isn't it? Closing, pressing, and I think when we were last time I was on you, I said we got these 6 games in 18 days, so that's going to be quite telling on the squad. And Lawler was I agree, was a big miss. But it did surprise me because he missed the last league game, and then he made him start at Exeter, and then sort of aggravated an existing injury. And then, of course, we missed him on the weekend. So hopefully that's nothing too serious. But, with perfect hindsight, he probably should never have played at Exeter. And with he and Ashford is, he's learning, isn't he? And I don't know if it just doesn't seem right this season to me. I don't know if he's entirely focused because he's making a lot of errors, I think, in his game. He's not closing and quite doing the sort of work that he's renowned for. He will come good again. But I was surprised that after he had the red card last Tuesday, for example, and clearly showed he was a frustrated player, that he started again on Saturday, whereas Isaac Davis to me, looks like he's ready to go. And I think he will start this weekend. But, there is a problem there. Hopefully Alex Robertson coming back in will add to our midfield. But I think one of the key things, and I always felt this before we started the season, we didn't have enough know-how and enough experience, particularly in that midfield area. And when you looked at the Bradford number 6, Max Power, he basically bossed that game on Saturday, and he bossed all his team around him as well. And that's the sort of individual that I think we needed. He knows League One, he knows the level, he knows what it takes, he knows how to organise a team. And it's that sort of personality. And Graham Kavanagh was down for a meeting on Friday night, wasn't he, with City fan? It's that sort of player that I think we're missing. Maybe Chambers, at times last season, showed that he might be the player to do that this season. But again, at the moment, he seems to be off it at the moment. So we need some of these players to find their form. We're having some early season jitters. But yeah, there is a problem with that squad. And, some people could even argue, would it be good if we just held on to Andy Remoter for a while, because he can fill in a number of these utility positions, but we haven't. We are where we are, and we just got to get on with it. But we are a bit light, particularly with these injuries that are racking up at the moment.
Yeah, except the Andy Remoter is a good, interesting comment, Nigel, because if you look at the Jack Alnwick, he can't get a game for he can't get a game for even if it was a reserve side, he just can't get a look in, and any kind of experience and old heads. Chambers is on the bench, doesn't even get on. He's the captain. I like the belief in young players. But I was kind of surprised that Chambers didn't get a look in actually on the weekend in the circumstances. Were you?
Yeah, I think in the midfield area, there's a strong argument for him, because never again at centre back, please, because he's tried to a number of times and it's just never worked for him. And I think we've got 3 good centre backs now. Osho, I thought take the penalty out of it, I thought he had a really good and promising debut. And you can almost see, unfortunately for Fish, he might be the player who makes way, and it's going to be an Osho Lawler partnership going forward, or at least initially. And they're both technically very good players as well as, but he adds that extra bit of height, doesn't he? And know-how. And it was was it one spell in the second half where he brought the ball out sort of 60, 70 yards downfield. There wasn't enough going on in front of him. So he's very capable on the ball as well. And that's the sort of player we need. And he's probably got that bit more experience and know-how we need. But yeah, Chambers, we really need to see a bit more from him. And it might well be helping out in that midfield area. But I think a key for us is Alex Robertson coming back into it. As long as he wants it, he's exactly the sort of personality that can really give us some more aggression in that centre back. Because that's where we lost the battle, didn't it? In that midfield area on Saturday. Ryan Wintle was completely out of it, really, with the players around.
Yeah. He's had a good season so far. So
very good.
Yeah. Halftime Oranges. Well done, and a great name, by the way. Great though. Yeah. Excited one for you, Pan. Excited with all the youngsters signing long-term deals because we waited for a bus, and then two came along at once today. With Capaccio, and then I was delighted, by the way, personally, see Isaac Davis also putting pen to paper on a longer deal. So again, it looks like that's a strategy going forward. And as the post there, Pan, about isn't it great that we got these youngsters to choose from with more coming through? It's quite an exciting time to be a City fan.
Yeah, I think, like I said, as fans who've been down the City 45, 50 years, we've had some great players come through the ranks. And we want to see local lads, play for Cardiff City. So this, as I said, this a moment in our history is a special one for seeing all these youngsters finally coming through. And I think we've been going on about the academy for many years now, haven't we? About not bringing through players. Our rivals, the Jacks, or were our rivals, the Jacks down the road. They brought through plenty of players over the last few years, and we haven't been doing that. So I think it's really encouraging. I think, it's great to see the youngsters playing. I do think, we missed a trick with in the transfer window. I think we should have brought in a left back, to give competition to Bacon. I do like Louis Giles, but I don't think he's ready. And I think, that would have been a good move for us. But yeah, it's exciting. I liked Isaac Davis. I thought he made a big difference when he came on Saturday. And I think, as regards to Ashford, Steve, Nigel's mentioned that he's been a bit off form. But as I said, there's so many youngsters. Is it Marfico? That I really like him. I really like that lad as a six. I love his personality, his enthusiasm. I think City fans really like him. I think he was hung out to dry a little bit when he was left back, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and that's what I was trying to say. When you need a cover, the poor lad tried his best. You could see he was out of position a lot, and he tried his best. But overall, I'm really, really excited. And I was really surprised a little bit. I didn't think Matthew Turner, the goalkeeper, was ready. And what I've seen of him, I've been really impressed. And he could well be a future Wales #1.
So I'll ask you firstly: does anyone know? Has anyone heard? Has Perry Ng picked up an injury? Is he injured at the moment? Anyone know?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Not aware of anything. But the Jack Alnwick thing's an interesting one, Pan, as well, isn't it? Because he was captain for a while last season at a higher level. He's an experienced keeper, and I think he's the representative for the Disabled Fans Association at the club, which is you don't give it to somebody unless you kind of got some respect for them, I suppose. Really, it's quite a prestigious role. Any surprises for you that he just literally, young Higgs is getting picked ahead of him? He's just basically being totally cold-shouldered.
Well, I mean, my own view last season, I don't know what other fans think, in terms of Hobart and Alnwick. I thought they were both culpable in many ways for different reasons. I mean, I know Alnwick was really good at the penalty shootouts, in terms of shot stopping. I thought he was very, very good with the ball at his feet. But there were a lot of, goals that we conceded when he was in goal. I thought he was culpable, and his history, his backstory, playing in Scottish football and stuff not big clubs. I mean, he's a decent keeper, but I mean, I think I was more surprised about Turner's performance. I was surprised that he came in and was ahead of Alnwick, you're right in that respect. But what I've seen of Turner, I think the manager's totally right to have him as the number 2. He's done a really good job for us. I haven't seen anything from the times I've seen him play for us that would warrant to say that he's not our number two. So, credit to the manager for giving him the opportunity and instilling that confidence, because let's be honest, the manager has made a huge difference to players like Willock. I don't like to say the word that he was useless last season, but like a lot of players last year, they didn't deliver. They were disappointing, and the manager has coached some of these players and given them the confidence to actually move ahead. And Ruben Colwell has improved by 25-30%. He couldn't head a ball last season. He's competing for balls in the air. He's winning that headers. He's grown. He's maturing. And he's had a lot of criticism. I criticised him a lot over the years. He's been there a long time. He needs to deliver. And I think, he didn't have a great game on Saturday, but overall, he's been one of our star players. So it's really encouraging to see our local lads, develop and show what they can do.
And Steve, with Ruben, would you? Because going back to what Mark Cox says here, Bradford game management was impressive. I mean, I was trying to think. They kind of really thought it out. They really kind of, if we were going to play Cardiff City, that was the way to do it, I think. Do you think they just did a number on Ruben? Do you think they're kind of trying to mark him out of the game, Steve?
I'm reminded a little bit of the Luton away game last season when we were on quite a good run at the time, and then Luton seemed to work out that everything was going through Ruben, so they stopped him playing. I'd hazard the opinion that something similar happened on Saturday. In that, as Bradford would look at it, these teams now, I think, are not going to come to Cardiff City Stadium and roll over like the likes of Plymouth and Rotherham did. The 3-0 and 4-0. It was just a question in both games of how many we were going to get, really. Yeah. Whereas Bradford, the first team to actually work out how to potentially stop us playing, and that's my concern. To go back on the point I made earlier on, this is the biggest test now on Saturday. When we go back to the league action against Wigan, how do we react to it? I'd like to think we're going to react how we did before when we got promoted under Warner, whereby we would have a couple of bad results and then we would push on and not lose the next 5 or 6 games. Remember, we had a good run at the start of that season. We remember beating Wolves and beating Villa, and then we went to Preston and we got seriously hammered at Preston, and yet we bounced back straight away. And I want BBM to show that he can do that this weekend.
Can I just say, Steve, you mentioned in the preliminary conversation your fantastic idea of writing a book about your travels as a Cardiff City fan. I must say, I look forward to that, because you obviously got some great stories there, and that'd be good fun. And you got no excuse not to write it now. You got plenty of time. Come on, sort it out. Did anyone, by the way, I don't know anyone on the panel, but if anyone listening or watching the show, if anyone went to the Graham Kavanagh night for Cardiff City World, well done again to Simon Willis of Ace Podcast Nation, a fantastic event, or to BBM's visit to Bargoed, not top of the global destinations for football managers, to be honest. But if anyone was at either, I'd love to know how those things went. And it's the first time, I think, Nigel, we've had something like that since Errol. Remember Errol when I did that event? The Turkish media were all over it, weren't they?
Did, and when he first came, he was going in the Queen's Vaults, wasn't he, on Westgate Street as well, popping in for a pint of Stella. But yeah, it's funny
for managers to do that, isn't it? Don't you think? Sorry.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the first one BBM did was my local in Barry, and I seem to be the only person here who didn't know about it. I go there 3 times a week. No one told me. I don't know what that means. They're probably trying to tell me something. But I think it was arranged through a brewery. It's rather than Cardiff City. Molson Coors Brewery arranged these visits. So
did they manage to organise an event in a brewery?
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, if it's Coors Brewery, I'm glad I missed it. But no, they're great things to do, and I think it's a good thing that BBM is engaging with the fans, isn't he? And that's when we see a united club. We've had a divided fan base for a number of years, and there's still elements of that at times, but hopefully we are coming together now. And BBM and the players, there's a connection between us and them again, which obviously has not been there the last season or two. So these are good times. This is what it is about, and this is when we feel most engaged and connected with Cardiff. So it's obviously about results and league position. But if you feel that you've got some affinity with the players you're seeing on the pitch and the manager and his approach, it does make a world of difference, doesn't it? It makes, hopefully it's a sign of better things to come as well.
And of course, the first game of the season, the Peterborough match, that was when the big call was made with Turner. That was the big surprise. But also, that was the day that Dalman put that. The comment was disseminated in the press, wasn't it? About this takeover, a lot of nonsense. There's nothing happening, etc. And again, there's kind of it almost kind of rubbishes the idea of a takeover. And when you're thinking of like Gareth Bale and big names involved, do you still think there's any possibility that is that why Vincent's coming back over, or what's going on there, Nige?
I personally believe there have been.
Start a rumor.
Yeah, no, I personally believe there have been talks. I personally believe that Delman's only given you that much of the truth that what has been going on behind the scenes and everything. But what I always did feel was, even if there was a genuine bid and the club were willing to engage, it would take all season to sort it out anyway, and probably for the Salah trial to be out the way. But I think ultimately Tan is quite happy to give it a one-season shot in League One and see what happens, because he knows the value of this club at the moment effectively is rock bottom after finishing bottom of the Championship. If he can get them back up in one season, his value increases by millions, doesn't it? So I never thought, for a buyer, it might have been the right time to make a bid for the club, but for the seller, it certainly wasn't. And, I think that's what it probably raise its head again next summer, I think, whichever way it goes, whether we get promoted or not. But I don't think it's going to go away, because let's face it, Tan's not getting any younger. He can't keep putting money into this club for not seeing a return on it. So there has to be a point of day of reckoning sooner rather than later, I would say.
So Pan, there's a comment here, and Pan's visiting apparently to remark on work stopping on the new training ground. I mean that has been in the press today that is going to happen, which is kind of interesting, really. I wonder why that would happen, and that in my paranoid head made me think, maybe there is something going on. Going back to what Nige said, and Vincent Tan in particular, is who's obviously, a lot of people have been saying quite praiseworthy things about him, more praiseworthy things about him recently, with the club doing well. And then he got Chu, grinning and smiling away and signing 4-year contracts with players. And are we starting to turn the corner as a club, do you think, Pan, in terms of trying to improve the relationship with the fan base, and such events as the manager going out and about, and do you see any kind of overt signs of that going on? Because it would be good.
I think we're definitely going in the right direction, Steve, but it's taken so many years of mistakes. I mean, as I said, we don't want to be looking back too much in terms of all the mistakes that Tan's made, and he's readily admitted he's made mistakes. He keeps on going on about Cornelius and all that kind of nonsense, but he forgets about all the signings that were made by the manager who, did really well and got us in the Premier League, and forgets about the money that comes in from, these players who are signed to get there in the first place. So you can look at both sides. Not every signing works, and that's football. I think that, that was something that I didn't agree with. But yeah, I think, Tan's been looking to sell for a number of years. I think he's just at the right moment. I agree with Nigel. I think, obviously he's not going to sell this season. They may well be in negotiations. I was really surprised with the Gareth Bale thing. I mean, what was it? An interview, what it was, a red carpet event, and saying that, made a bid. But the whole thing was not done professionally. It wasn't done with the correct due diligence in terms of, a written bid, as far as we're aware, in terms of all the accountants, the money was there. So I was really surprised. It was a bit naive from Bale, and I don't know who was involved in that as well behind the scenes. But I think Tan, the Tan out brigade have all gone quiet, haven't they? Because we're doing really well. But I mean, let's be honest, I'm really encouraged by seeing all these youngsters. We're playing generally very good football. I'm enjoying going down the city. Hopefully we can attract new fans to the club. And I think, Tan's been there a long, long time, so I think a lot of City fans are set in their ways in terms of their views of him. But, if we get promoted to the Championship, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe he looks at it and thinks, wow, we've got a squad that's worth 70, 80 million now. Ruben Colwell could be worth X amount. You've got Lawler, who's been supposedly looked at by a number of clubs, Capacchio and players like that. So, we've had a transfer model that hasn't been great, is it, in terms of buying players on huge contracts. You've got all these youngsters now on contracts that obviously we don't want to get rid of them, but this is the model, isn't it? You bring youngsters through, you develop them, and if you can make 10, 50 million quid from some of them and reinvest that money, that's a good model. Look at the Brighton ownership model. Look at Brentford. They got it right. But I don't think Tam will be with us in a year or two. But who knows?
And Steve, going back to what Pan just said then about bringing a sense of excitement, and you want to be at the stadium again, which wasn't always the case. Let's face it, last season or recently, shall we say? How much do you think it is? How much would you imagine or envisage it is, Steve, for an asset for the club to have those young players and to bring young fans in who want to emulate those players and inspired by those youngsters, representing Cardiff City Football Club? Yeah,
there's a lot to be said for that. I think the time, as I said earlier, the time is right to bring those young players through now. They've done very well, I think, to tie some significantly promising players in Isaac and Dylan to long contracts, and Capacchio as well. Of course, they've done really well in that. But I think just to go back to the takeover moment, the one thing I do want to say, just basics in respect of a takeover, you've got to have a willing buyer and a willing seller. At the moment, we clearly don't have a willing seller, so. Yeah. There may be that pressure can be bought if that's what people want to do on the owner at the moment. But at the moment, I don't think he, as Nigel said, at the moment any price received will be rock bottom, and I think it is a one season hit. See if we can move forward, because the value of the club will rocket if we've got these promising players. If we are getting well ahead of myself here, if we can get promoted and we can make a decent start next season, it's going to be a far more attractive proposition to sell.
So what about the idea of the training ground being kind of postponed?
It's something that's difficult to have a positive spin on, really, isn't it? Because if you're going to move forward, having your own home training ground has got to be a good thing. I mean, obviously the facilities at the Vale are fantastic. However, it's far better to have their own. I'd be interested to know what comes out about this.
And Nigel, on the back of that, I don't think Vincent Tan's been in the ground for like over a year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's flying in. So is this again part of a charm offensive?
I guess so. It depends when he comes. They could be talking about the January window, all sorts of things. The training ground is disappointing, and I understand what they're saying about the finances and the budget's affected. But ultimately, a training ground is a property and an asset. So whatever it's going to cost to deliver that training ground increases the value of the overall asset of the club as well. So
yeah.
And let's not forget, where we're now seeing the value of this club is in the youngsters we're bringing through in the academy. So why would you not want to upgrade, the facilities that produces the next generation of talent? So it's a bit disappointing, but you have got to cut your cloth as well when you get relegated, haven't you? So, but with Tan coming over, I think he's just thinking maybe the times are better and it's safer for him to come and visit the ground, and certainly it would have been last season. Who knows? And of course, he's got business interests in London, hasn't he? So it may well be he's just popping over to deal with his car dealership and let's take in the game while he's here. The trouble with Vincent Tan is when he comes to Cardiff, he gives a little wave and a little chat to Rob Phillips, says a few paragraphs for the papers, and that's it, isn't it? We don't get engagement with him, but hey ho, that's the only we got. He puts in the money, but we don't get that involvement with him, unfortunately, that you would like to have as supporters of a club where, ultimately we all got our differences with him, we all got our disagreements, and we, think the thing he did with the Red, I think is the worst thing that ever happened to Cardiff City in my lifetime. But you can't deny that he has been a good investor and a good backer of the club. Unfortunately, a lot of that investment has been awful. All that money's put in, and we're in a same position as when he came in 15 years ago, or worse position actually.
Yeah.
But, hey, we are where we are.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting talking point, and he's probably one of the more controversial figures probably in British football actually. So he gets people talking about the club. So so Steve Wiggy Wiggins has been in touch, and I'll give you a couple of clues to where we're going with this now. It might be something that I've said many zillions of times because I'm really old fashioned in my opinions of football, right? So it's the comment from Steve. Would three at the back be better, especially at home with maybe Fischl, Lawler, and Osho? Because again, I'm a bit of a fan of that kind of thing. I like the idea of left footers on the left and right footers on the right and all the rest of it, and playing the two strikers. Because we were kind of more threatening. I know we were chasing it on the weekend, but Robinson with Salah up front, any mileage in that? Nigel?
Yeah, when I looked at the last sort of 15, 20 minutes on Saturday, we got that goal back. And I just felt we were going to actually pull it back to 3-3. Unfortunately, they snuffed us again after that, didn't they? But you just had that feeling, didn't you, when we got that goal back? But when you look at that, the players we finished on the pitch with up front, Robinson, Salah, Isaac Davis, Kellyman, he's only showing touches and he's getting some form of fitness at the moment. But there's something exciting there with him. There's not many League One teams that are going to, obviously Rubin as well. Very few league teams are going to handle that sort of 5 or 6 attacking talents there. And if you base your game on them alone, we're strong enough defensively, it would seem, despite the blips at the weekend.
Yeah.
There really is something to go at. I think the problem for me at the moment is that we do struggle to find a cutting edge. I think that Salek is starting to lose a little bit of form to go with his confidence because he's still not getting the service that he needs. It's staggering that he was getting better service in the Championship when we were finishing top of the table, and he's in League One when we're at the top. It's just not happening for him at the moment. And obviously, we're getting used to a new style of football, but it still feels at times that, when you look at how Bradford counter-attacked on the weekend and made as many chances as us, whereas we've been far more elaborate and sometimes sort of checking out, playing it back, recycling the ball, etc., etc. It's a good thing to do, but ultimately there has to be an end product of that. And to me, even though we have more chances on Saturday, we're still not delivering enough of that. And there's a bit of work to be done there, but the talent is there, undoubtedly.
Yeah, and it's too early to say maybe, Pan, with Kellyman, because we've only seen a little bit of it. I think it was not £19 million player, wasn't he? Something crazy from
he hasn't played many games, Steve. So you can't knock the lad. He hasn't played much. Yeah, he hasn't played much football at all. So we're you can't expect much off him. I think it'll take him 3-4 weeks. To get up to speed. He'll have to play. I think he'll have to play against Burnley. Well, I hope he plays against Burnley. He just needs matches, doesn't he? But I think, going back to what I said about we missed a trick with the left back with Bagan to get cover. With Tanner out injured, I think with Isaac Davis, who's obviously on form when he deserves a start. And you've got Willock, who in the main has been one of our best players. Well, they're both really normally or naturally on that left-hand side. So in what we said there in terms of playing three at the back, I like the idea of Osher because he can play right side. And Lawler and Fish, I like that. And then you play 3-4-3. Well, you'd have Isaac Davis. Normally, you'd have Isaac Davis, Robinson, if you're going to go down the route of Bradford and try to emulate it. But then you're struggling on the right because Kellyman's not up to speed and Ashford's out of form. So that is a slight concern on the right-hand side because, as I said, with Ashford and Kellyman, for different reasons, we're not in a great place as far as I'm concerned on that right side. There's some inconsistency there. But yeah, I think it's good to have. I mean, BBM, he's been well schooled, haven't he, as a Manchester City. We talk about systems and all that. It's about the players at the end of the day. And look, and I keep on saying, going back to the Bradford game, we made critical errors in that game in terms of Willock not picking up the guy who scored the first, Willock not picking up the guy who scored the third, and Austria making a mistake. So that's their 3 goals, and there you are. So these kind of things. And what some of the fans have been saying on is absolutely right. Bradford's tenacity in that game, they really, the manager's got to be given great credit for the way he set up that side, the type of players he's recruited. But they lost to Doncaster 3-1, and so this is the league it is. There's not going to be one outstanding team, I believe, like a Birmingham. there's going to be 4 or 5. And I've said at the beginning of the season in the podcast that the best manager, in my view, before BBM came in, obviously, was Dave Challoner, because I think he's outstanding in lower leagues. And Stockport will be thereabouts come the end of the season as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about Bluebird Corner, from one podcasty person to another.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for, I've been helping Si out, when he asked me a year ago. I've been going down the city since 1980. And I thought, well, I'll set my own. And we've only been going 3 months, and we're on track for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We've had 50,000 views. We did really well on the post-match game on Saturday, nearly 2,000 views. A lot of them from Bradford guys who were coming back on the coach.
Yeah.
They were quite complimentary, and they were a great bunch. We're doing a few podcasts in the week, mainly about the matches. I'm doing a podcast every season, going back from 1980. We do that on a Tuesday night, so that's really good. And it's just when you've got a bit more time on your hands, you can do these kind of things.
Are you listening, Steve?
I haven't. Put me on the spot there.
We got just to let you know, do a little plug. We got a great competition. Anyone who does subscribe for free this month, you're in a great draw. We're doing a draw on the 1st of October where you can win free travel to a city match of your choice, October, November, December on a coach. So if you do subscribe for free, we're going to do that draw beginning of October. So a lot of fans who do travel away, it's expensive, but we'll pay for your travel and a mate for any fixture up until the end of the year.
Nice one, and good luck with it. And thanks for coming on. And Cardiff City World is just a great idea. It's a lovely idea. We got an idea for the team for tomorrow, Steve, for Burnley from Jamie, which I pretty well almost exactly what I would go with. Actually, I'll just put that on the screen for now. And then I'll go for a comment from Jeff, our Irish inverted commas correspondent in a minute, which will also be, as usual, quite interesting. So Jamie suggesting Turner in goals, Giles, Chambers, we're paying him a fair bit of money as a player. Osho, NG of Fittle has conflicting comments about him in the chat as well. Mafiko, Robertson, Perrott, interesting. Kellyman, I'll go with, I'm going to go with Nyakuwa. I'm not sure that's the right pronunciation. I think he's probably, it might be different to that, being African descent, I think. And Robinson, so that's not a bad lineup. Do you think that's going to be there or thereabouts, Steve, would you say?
I do, but I think a lot of it has got to be horses for courses. We have to look at Burnley and what they're likely to do tomorrow. I'm reminded of the comments by the Swindon manager Holloway after about how first of all we set up against them, in which he wasn't expecting, and then when they made changes, BBM made changes to counteract that. And I think he said that it was one of the best first half performances he's seen against a team that he's managed ever. So I think again, Jamie's spot on. Great seeing Jamie at just about every away game I go to. I think, but I think we've got to make sure we're set up right for the team we're playing against. We don't want to be 5-10 minutes in and work out that actually we shouldn't have been picking this team because of what Burnley have been doing. Yeah.
And on the subject of Ian Holloway, I know that again, there's you like him or you don't like him. He's like Marmite, isn't he? But when I was covering the games at Ninian years ago, he came in as the away manager for some team, and it's the only time I've ever seen the press, who are a miserable bunch at the best of times, laughing their heads off and giving them a round of applause at the end of a press conference, just literally for being funny. But it's not everything being funny, but he has that kind of talent. So the comment from Jeff, which I'll go, Jeff Dela Cruz. Nige, Bradford have the highest player age average in the league. He thinks the difference made when NG came on was marked, and it was too late to bring Chambers on at 3-0 because some City fans will destroy him. Do you think is there an anti-Chambers thing going on? And any comments on the fact that they have that more mature age set?
Yeah, well, I think good luck to Bradford. Like I said, I think Graham Alexander, their manager, is a really good manager. He's up there with the best in the lower two divisions, undoubtedly. And certainly, the way he set them up and everything at the weekend, they just did a great job on us, didn't they? I've always believed, and I've said it for all summer long, we should have brought in someone with League One know-how and experience, just to complement these youngsters. They're going to lose form over the season. They're going to come have, we're seeing it with Keane Ashford more than most players at the moment. Chambers has been particularly disappointing, hasn't he? Because as your captain and your player who's been there, seen it all, come to us from a Premier League club, England international, highest wage earner by far at the club. You are expecting to see a lot more from him than he's been given to us. And to me, it felt like, I don't think we expected to have him here this season. I think in the ideal world, he would have been offloaded and taken off the wage book as well. But he is here. And as he is, and as the players have now voted him captain, you do need him to show those leadership qualities. And he's been a little bit short on that. He's been found wanting, hasn't he? It's disappointing that he's just not working out what he's tried as centre-back. A player of his ability and experience should be better. But, there is definitely a place for him in the middle of that park. In those sort of games, when we're under the cosh and we're being overrun, you do need someone like him who can put a foot on the ball, control it, look at, get others playing around him. But he's got to really pick up his performance levels. They've just not been there this season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose he could argue maybe he's not getting enough game time, so he's not able to kind of establish himself. But when he has been in there, he hasn't blown us away, has he? There's a great comment here from Jamie. I know you like this one, Nige. So it's a classic Cardiff City phone and comment. We need a Cav. Sign him up. His hair's still the same colour. We won't know the difference. Yeah,
same colour as mine. Got to be good, doesn't it? Yours, Steve. We're all good. No, but. Precisely, I just think that they did need that bit of know-how and experience. And like I said earlier, we looked at that Max Power, the job he was doing for Bradford at the weekend, and that's exactly the sort of player we're missing. Because League One, we're playing fantastic football, and it's the best football we've seen Cardiff play for years. But to do well in League One, you need more than that to your game. There are these games where you got to tough it out and battle it out, and we've shown we can do that. Under the cosh at Port Vale and Stockport, we hung in there and found a way to get a result. But it's these big physical games where, we saw it. Stockport was a struggle, Port Vale was a struggle, Saturday was a struggle, even though the goals went in the way they did. And it's just when we're in these big physical games and teams get aggressive with us, we're just not quite there at the moment. And I think they will learn and get more experience over the season. But if you had that sort of personality player, it would help us a lot. We're just lacking that at the moment, I would say.
Should we just
Aaron Ramsey would have been fantastic for us, wouldn't he? If he'd had around this season, the influence of him. But yeah.
Well, we're talking about not so much about Aaron Ramsey, but the idea of an experienced player. Cav for me was one. I've got a pound on this in a second, but for me, because you started watching 1980 or whatever, he's one of the best midfield generals I can remember in my time watching the club. Any quick comments on Graham Kavanagh, Pan?
Yeah, he was a great player for City, wasn't he? He's a leader, and when you look at the City's team, Cardiff City team, and I'm maybe we're a bit old school, like you need that leader in the team, and I think you're right with Chambers. I think he's been a bit unlucky. I think Wintle did reasonably well when he was on loan at Millwall. I wasn't impressed with him when he was with us before that, when he first came with us, Wintle, and that's I think when he left the club to go on loan. He's come back and he's done a really good job. I think Chambers is a good six, but obviously Wintle's done very well, so you're not going to drop him. But yeah, Graham Kavanagh, City legend.
Yeah, Steve, anything to add to that?
Yeah, memories of Cav, absolutely fantastic leader on the pitch. Never forget the free kick against Leeds.
Yeah.
Game, as well as the one at the start of the season. We were first back in the old championship at Nottingham Forest away. Very, very good for me that we went there and won. So such a shame. To digress slightly. Such a shame. Forest got promoted after 7 consecutive league games at the league City ground. Going back as well, if I can, please, to Chambers. I think a bit like Willock, he needs a couple of good performances. I mean, a lot of the comments you'd see about Willock were they weren't very pleasant at all. However, scored the fantastic goal at Luton, and I think one of the problems, to go back to the points about Salek as well, is he's just not been getting the service. The one decent ball he had in against Stockport, he scored. I mean, I was behind the goal for that. I could see how he had a quick glance behind him. He saw the goalkeeper was in no man's land and fantastically guided it past him. And he did, of course, hit the woodwork on Saturday as well. So I think he's still worthy of his place in the side. I wouldn't want to change. I wouldn't want to change too much as a knee-jerk reaction to losing on Saturday. I think we just need to keep the faith and back BBM.
And the nice use of the keep the faith. It's always good to get one of those in.
Yeah.
And Nige, Graham Kavanagh, right up there for you as well.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. I mean, I can remember he scored a goal at Crystal Palace, which few remember, but it was one of the best goals I ever seen Cardiff score. I think we were down to 10 or 9 men at the time. Might have been down to 9 players. And he scored a 35-yarder there that equalised. We ended up losing that day, but that goal was something else. But I think if you look back at that team that got us up out of this division last time, is via the playoffs. The players that we had, the characters that we had, we had Leggy, didn't we? As well as Cav and Scott Young and those sort of players. So we had a blend of youth and experience. We had Ernie coming through and things like that going on. So for me, I think that's the missing piece to the jigsaw. And we might just have to get by until January. But I think when we get to January, we do need to get in something that will, just complement these youngsters, because it's a tough season for them. We've said on the show before, they're going to play 55 games of all these cup matches. And the boys who are in the Welsh squads, they're going to play up to 60 games. That is attritional for, hardened players, but never mind sort of teenagers or early 20s players in their first full season of football, still learning the game on the job. So, there has to be, we're going to have these hiccups and ups and downs, bumps in the road. That's going to be natural. The trick is, as we're all saying, it's how you recover from it. And hopefully we'll see the good signs come back this weekend. I do think it's just a bit of a blip on Saturday, and they will get over this. But it's a test of character now, isn't it? The next week for them.
Yeah, my only slight worry is with youngsters playing at Division 1 level, which is the old League 3 kind of thing. There will be some hardened battlers that are going to put the boot in and try and bully us. It is going to happen, but like you say, it's about how we react to that. And we got a great set of kids, so I'm sure we'll be fine. So looking forward to firstly, well, we do a double whammy here. Burnley tomorrow, and then Wigan away. 2 tough Oop North games. Pan, you got any predictions?
Yeah, my head would say one thing, my heart's another. So I if I'm being sensible, I'm going to go Burnley 3, City 0, and 1-1 draw against Wigan.
Okay, but thanks for coming on anyway.
Yep, no problem.
Steve, what do you think?
Steve, I like Pan. I'm possibly going more with my heart than my head. I think I'm going to go for a late night tomorrow night, win on penalties after a draw against Burnley, possibly 0-0 or 1-1. Saturday, I think it'll be a hard-fought game, but we'll scrape it. We may not deserve it, but we'll scrape it 1-0 or 2-1 on Saturday.
Okay, are you going up tomorrow, Steve?
I'm not going up tomorrow, but I'm going up on Saturday.
Okay, and Nige.
I'm more in the Steve camp, I think. I just think the fact that these cup games are 90-minute matches and there's no replays, it denigrates the cup, but it does mean we've got a chance. If we can do well in the first half hour, it's an open game, and if they score, we can try and get one back. And there's a chance we'll take it on. I think we'll either lose 2-3-0 or we'll take it on penalties. But I do fancy us for a win at Wigan, 1 or 2-0.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I hope you're right with that, and I hope we're back on track. Thanks all for being on the show tonight. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar, Cardiff City, right with me for your Caesar.